Amy here at Jerry's Music in South Hadley, Massachusetts. I'm Laura Clark, and I am Professor of Horn Emeritus at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. I'd like to share a few things today with you, a few ideas about starting out on the horn. There are lots of right ideas, and all of them are valid, or maybe at least most of them. So I'd just like to offer a few hints that I think might be helpful. First of all, you've chosen a great instrument. The horn is a fabulous instrument, whether it's something heroic like Wagner's Siegfried, or lovely singing lyrical parts like Strauss wrote in his horn concerto. Or the Britain Serenade, which I played at the very beginning, beautiful piece for horn and tenor and string orchestra. That opening and the closing of the work are for horn with no vowels or natural horn. The horn gets lots of great parts in band repertoire, in orchestral repertoire, and solos and chamber music. And if you stick with it, you'll have lots of opportunities, because at least in lots of places, there just aren't enough horn players. So pick up the horn, stick with it, and you'll get asked to play in lots of groups. So you've picked up your horn, you've got the case. Mine is upside down from a lot of cases, but whichever way your case is set up, put it down flat on the ground, open the latches, and open the case. Let's take the mouthpiece first. What I'm going to do is make a buzz by just saying and then blowing out. Don't worry if you don't get a buzz the first time. You may get and nothing. If that happens, push your lips a little closer together and exhale rather full, rather forcefully. See if you can get a buzz. If you don't get a buzz, don't worry about it. No one asked me to buzz until I was already in my first professional job doing a demonstration concert. Before that, I just put the horn up and blew, and a buzz came out. So lick your lips, take the mouthpiece, put it up above the red of your fleshy part of your lips, and bend it down and do that blowing. And see if you can get a buzz to come out. Doesn't matter what sound, just anything that comes out. The reason we put the horn 2/3 on the upper lip and 1/3 on the lower lip is that the horn has a very large range. I'll show you that a little bit later. And if the mouthpiece is pushing in the red, in the fleshy part, then you're squeezing that muscle. It's sort of like if you take your arm and squeeze back here, your fingers can move. That's like the mouthpiece being above the red. But if you squeezed right on your hand and ask your fingers to be nice and flexible, they'd have a much harder time. So you've got that buzz. I do like to lick my lips. I think the majority of brass players play with wet lips, but it's also possible. I know some players who wipe their lips off before playing and then make a buzz. Either way works. Reach down to the case. You don't want to pick the horn up by the bell. That could bend. You don't want to pick it up by any piece of tubing that might fall out, those valve slides or the main tuning slide. So you look for a place that's nice and stable and pick the horn up by this branch, maybe holding on by here. You never want to pick up by a tuning slide because you could end up holding the slide with the horn on the floor. That would not be a good thing. So pick the horn up. I like to put the mouthpiece in and just give it a little twist as I push down gently. You never want to hit the mouthpiece into the horn. It'll be tight, but it'll be so tight you'll end up needing a mouthpiece puller to get it out. So I give it a little twist so that it's in there nice and tight. If I want to get it out, I can twist it either the same direction or the other direction. It's not in so hard that it's going to get stuck, but at least it won't fall out when I turn the horn over to empty the water, which we'll talk about a little later. So to get started, I'd like you to stand up and turn the chair about 45 degrees to your right. And we'll talk a little more about that in a moment. I'm going to put my right hand down on my right leg and pull the fingers together. This is just making a little bit of a cup, maybe like a Downton Abbey wave, or they used to call that a swimmer's cup. I think now swimmers try to get more with their hand open. But we're going to pull the fingers together, not an L shape, not stiff, but just gently cupped, thumb alongside. Put my left hand on the valves and let them rest on the valves, and take my right hand and put it into the bell. Let's pretend this is the face of a clock. If this is 12 o'clock, then somewhere around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, I'm going to put the back of my knuckles against the bell on that side. And I want to have room to hold a grapefruit. I don't want the palm of the hand to push over to the other side of the bell. It's just in so the knuckles are against the outside, room enough for a grapefruit in the palm of my hand. Now, if I let my knees follow the chair, 45 degrees off to this side, right now I would be looking right at my hand. So if the music stand is here and the conductor's over there, if I pull my left arm down and just gently twist the upper part of my body, that brings my hand down. I can see over to the music, I can see out to the conductor, and it puts the bell away from my body. If I play like this, and I see young players sometimes like this, first of all, I'm stretching a bit to get up to the mouthpiece, and I'm also blowing right into my body, and that's going to soak up some of the sound. If I instead turn my upper body, pull the left arm down, puts the bell away, that lets the sound out and into the room. So we want to be sure that there's room enough between my chair and the next horn player's chair, or whomever happens to be on that side, that the sound can get out. It pulls my arm down, it lets me look over and see the music around my hand, pulls the mouthpiece down, lets me see the conductor. And just a couple more things. I mentioned turning the chair 45 degrees to the right and having the player pull the arm down. That particularly will help for a smaller player. It helps to get the sound out. I once had a student who was so small that they even had to put the horn down on the chair to get the mouthpiece to their mouth. Sitting on the front of the chair will help, and for a small player, moving the leg backward or even forward will lower the knee and could bring the mouthpiece down. If you're going to do that, you'll probably need a black washcloth or a chamois to help keep the horn from sliding. If you have a very tall player, you'll want to put the heel, or you can put the heel of the right foot up against the leg of the chair. That could raise the knee a bit. You could put that foot on a book or a block to raise. And once you're that tall, you may want to consider holding the horn bell free. What I'm doing for that, taking that same hand position, putting it so there's still quite a bit of room. I don't want it to be covering the sound, and letting the bell weight rest on the knuckles of the right hand. And I'm hoping all the band directors out there will turn the chairs as a setup and leave plenty of room for that beautiful horn sound to come out. So now you're on your way, you've got a great instrument, you made a sound, have fun.